In a quiet little town surrounded by green hills and clear streams, there lived a young man named Alex Carter. From the moment he could walk, Alex was fascinated by movement, how people ran, jumped, and fought in movies. But it wasn't just Hollywood stunts that caught his attention. It was the art behind them. His grandfather, an old but sharp-eyed man with hands like iron, introduced him to the world of martial arts when Alex was only 6 years old. Every evening after school, they would train together in their backyard, practicing punches, kicks, and blocks until the sun dipped below the horizon. Alex wasn't just good at martial arts, he was exceptional. By the time he turned 10, he had already won several local competitions. What set him apart wasn't just his speed or strength, it was his focus. While other kids played video games or chased after ice cream trucks, Alex spent hours perfecting his forms. He dreamed of one day becoming a master who could inspire others, someone whose name people would remember long after he was gone. As Alex grew older, so did his skills. At 15, he earned his first black belt in Taekwondo. By 20, he had added 2 more belts in Karate and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to his collection. Yet, despite all his achievements, Alex remained humble. He didn't brag about his trophies or act superior to anyone. Instead, he chose to teach high school students physical education during the day and coach aspiring fighters in the evenings. To him, sharing what he knew was far more rewarding than chasing personal glory. But deep down, Alex still felt something missing. Sure, he had medals, certificates, and the respect of everyone around him. But none of that compared to testing himself on a bigger stage. He often wondered how he'd fare against the best fighters in the world. Would his techniques hold up? Could he adapt to unfamiliar styles? These questions lingered in his mind, gnawing at him whenever he watched international tournaments online. One crisp autumn morning, everything changed. As Alex sorted through mail piled on his kitchen counter, a thick envelope caught his eye. It bore no return address, just his name written elegantly in gold ink. Curious, he tore it open and found an invitation inside. The letter explained that he had been selected to participate in an exclusive exhibition match in Seoul, South Korea, a prestigious event attended by top martial artists from across the globe. Rumor had it that even members of the royal family showed up to watch these matches. For Alex, this wasn't just an opportunity. It felt like fate knocking on his door. Excitement bubbled inside him as he imagined stepping onto a grand stage, surrounded by roaring crowds and facing opponents who were legends in their own right. This was his chance to prove not only to himself, but also to the world that he belonged among the elite. That night, Alex stayed awake planning every detail, packing his gear, researching potential competitors, and visualizing victory. Little did he know, this journey would take him far beyond anything he'd ever trained for, and challenge him in ways he never expected. The next morning, Alex stood outside his house, suitcase in hand, staring at the horizon. Beyond those hills lay a new adventure, one filled with uncertainty and possibility. Taking a deep breath, he climbed into his car, ready to leave behind the comfort of familiarity and step into the unknown. The first round of the sparring match took place in a traditional dojo within the palace compound. The room was simple yet striking, with polished wooden floors and walls adorned with calligraphy scrolls depicting ancient martial arts philosophies. A faint scent of sandalwood lingered in the air, adding to the serene atmosphere. For Alex, however, there was nothing calming about the situation. His heart raced as he stood across from Prince Minjun, who moved with the grace of someone who had spent years perfecting his craft. Before they began, both fighters bowed deeply, their movements deliberate and respectful. As the referee signaled the start of the match, Alex immediately noticed how different this fight would be compared to anything he'd experienced before. Min Jun didn't rush or throw flashy kicks. Instead, he glided across the floor like water flowing over stones, every step precise and calculated. It was clear that the prince wasn't just fighting. He was telling a story through his movements, each strike carrying meaning beyond its physical impact. Alex tried to keep up, using his speed and agility to stay ahead. He launched a series of quick jabs aimed at testing Min Jun's defenses, but the prince blocked them effortlessly, his hands moving so fast they seemed almost invisible. Frustrated, Alex switched tactics, attempting a spinning back kick, a move he had practiced countless times. But Min Jun sidestepped it with ease, countering with a swift palm strike that sent Alex stumbling backward. Despite the setback, Alex refused to give up. Drawing on years of training, he focused on staying grounded, remembering his grandfather's advice. In chaos, find stillness. He slowed his breathing and sharpened his focus, analyzing Min Jun's patterns for weaknesses. When the prince advanced again, Alex anticipated his next move and managed to land a solid punch to his ribs. The crowd murmured approvingly, and for a brief moment, Alex felt a flicker of hope. But Min Jun wasn't fazed. If anything, the hit seemed to energize him. With renewed intensity, he pressed forward, unleashing a flurry of strikes that left Alex struggling to defend himself. Every block felt heavier than the last, and Alex realized too late that Min Jun was deliberately wearing him down. By the time the referee called an end to the round, Alex was drenched in sweat, his muscles burning from exertion. As they stepped apart to catch their breath, Alex couldn't help but admire Min Jun's skill. There was no arrogance in the prince's demeanor, only quiet confidence. He nodded slightly at Alex, acknowledging his effort, and Alex returned the gesture, silently grateful for the respect. Back in his corner, Alex reflected on what had just happened. Min Jun's style was unlike anything he'd encountered before. It wasn't just about strength or speed. It was about control, precision, and understanding the opponent's mind. Alex knew brute force wouldn't win this fight. He needed strategy, patience, and adaptability if he wanted to survive the next 2 rounds. The break between rounds gave Alex a chance to regroup. He wiped the sweat from his face and took slow, steady breaths, focusing on the lessons he'd learned during the first round. This wasn't just a test of physical ability. It was a battle of wits, discipline, and endurance. And while Alex may not have been winning yet, he hadn't lost either. As the referee signaled the start of the second round, Alex stepped forward with renewed determination. He might not have all the answers, but one thing was certain. He wasn't going to back down without giving everything he had. Whatever came next, he was ready, or so he thought. The final round took place in a secluded mountain temple, perched high above the city. The air was crisp and carried the faint scent of incense burning nearby. Stone steps led up to an open courtyard surrounded by ancient pillars, their surfaces weathered by time. This wasn't just a venue. It was sacred ground, steeped in tradition and symbolism. Both fighters entered barefoot, leaving behind not only their shoes, but also any trace of ego or pride. For Alex, this moment felt like stepping into another world, one where every movement mattered and every breath carried meaning. As they bowed deeply before the match began, Alex noticed something different about Prince Min Jun. Gone was the playful rivalry or the calculated mind games from earlier rounds. Instead, there was a quiet reverence in his expression, as if he too understood the weight of what was about to unfold. The prince's eyes met Alex's, and for the first time, Alex saw not an opponent, but a fellow martial artist, someone who shared the same journey of discipline, sacrifice, and growth. When the referee signaled the start, neither fighter rushed to attack. They circled each other slowly, their movements deliberate and measured. The silence around them was profound, broken only by the sound of their footsteps on the cool stone floor. It was as though the entire universe had paused to watch this final confrontation. Min Jun struck first, launching a series of precise kicks that forced Alex to retreat. But instead of panicking, Alex stayed calm, using his blocks to create space and study Min Jun's rhythm. When the opportunity arose, he countered with a low sweep, catching Min Jun off balance. The crowd gasped audibly, but Min Jun recovered quickly, his movements fluid and unhurried. What followed was less of a fight and more of a dance, a delicate exchange of power and respect. Each strike carried intention. Each block reflected understanding. Alex found himself matching Min Jun's pace, no longer thinking about winning or losing, but simply existing in the moment. He remembered his grandfather's words. Martial arts is not about domination. It's about connection. And for the first time, Alex truly understood what that meant. As the match wore on, both fighters pushed themselves to their limits. Sweat dripped down their faces, yet neither showed signs of fatigue. Their strikes became sharper, their defenses tighter, until finally, Min Jun delivered a powerful spinning kick that sent Alex sprawling onto the ground. Pain shot through Alex's side, but he didn't hesitate. Pushing himself up, he prepared to continue fighting. But then, something unexpected happened. Instead of pressing his advantage, Min Jun extended his hand toward Alex. At first, Alex hesitated, unsure of what to do. Then, realizing the gesture for what it was, an act of mutual respect, he reached out and grasped the prince's hand. Min Jun pulled him to his feet, and for a moment, the two men stood face to face. Breathing hard, their eyes locked in silent acknowledgement of each other's strength and spirit. The referee raised his arm to signal the end of the match, declaring Min Jun the victor. But the crowd didn't cheer or applaud. Instead, they remained silent, honoring the sanctity of the moment. Alex bowed deeply to Min Jun, gratitude swelling in his chest. He hadn't won the fight, but he had gained something far greater, a deeper understanding of himself and the art he loved so much. As they walked side by side out of the temple, Alex couldn't help but smile. This journey had tested him in ways he never imagined, but it had also taught him invaluable lessons about humility, perseverance, and the true essence of martial arts. Whatever came next, he knew he would carry these lessons with him forever. The tension between Alex and Ji-hoon had been building for days, simmering beneath the surface of their friendly exchanges. While they trained together during official sessions, their rivalry was undeniable. Ji-hoon's playful teasing often carried a competitive edge, and Alex's quiet determination only fueled the unspoken challenge between them. It wasn't long before that rivalry boiled over. On the second day of the tournament, after an intense sparring session with another competitor, Ji-hoon turned to Alex with a smirk. "You know," he said, wiping sweat from his brow, "I think I could take you in a real match. No rules, no judges, just us." His tone was light, almost joking, but his eyes gleamed with mischief. The crowd of fighters gathered nearby paused, sensing the shift in energy. Alex hesitated for a moment, unsure if this was just another one of Ji-hoon's games, but then pride kicked in. He couldn't back down. "Not here, not now." "All right," Alex replied, his voice steady despite the butterflies fluttering in his stomach. "Let's see what you've got." Word spread quickly among the competitors, and soon a small group formed in a private courtyard near the palace grounds. The space was surrounded by stone walls covered in ivy, creating an intimate arena bathed in soft afternoon sunlight. Spectators leaned against the edges, whispering excitedly as Alex and Ji-hoon faced off. Neither man wore protective gear. This wasn't an official match. It was personal. As the impromptu bout began, both fighters moved cautiously, testing each other's defenses. Ji-hoon struck first, launching a lightning-fast kick aimed at Alex's side. Alex blocked it just in time, countering with a punch that Ji-hoon dodged effortlessly. The pace quickened, their movements becoming a blur of strikes, blocks, and feints. Each fighter pushed harder, determined not to give an inch. But something unexpected happened midway through the fight. As Alex prepared to deliver a powerful roundhouse kick, Ji-hoon ducked low, throwing off Alex's aim. Instead of connecting with his opponent, Alex's foot swung wide and straight into the face of a royal guard who had stepped forward unnoticed. The impact sent the guard stumbling backward, clutching his nose as blood trickled between his fingers. Time seemed to freeze. The once lively chatter of the onlookers fell silent. Everyone stared in shock, including Alex, whose heart sank as realization hit him. He hadn't meant to hurt anyone. It was a complete accident. But the damage was done. The injured guard glared at him, fury burning in his eyes. For a moment, no one dared to move or speak. Then the guard straightened up, his expression cold and unreadable. Without saying a word, he turned and marched away, leaving behind a trail of murmurs from the spectators. Some whispered apologies under their breath, while others exchanged worried glances. Even Jae-hoon looked uneasy, his earlier bravado replaced by concern. "You're in trouble now," he muttered quietly to Alex before slipping out of the courtyard. Standing alone amidst the lingering crowd, Alex felt a wave of dread wash over him. He knew better than anyone how serious this situation could be. These weren't ordinary guards, they were protectors of royalty, tasked with maintaining order and respect. Striking one of them, even accidentally, was no small offense. As the gravity of his mistake settled in, Alex realized that his journey in Seoul might be about to take a drastic turn, one he hadn't prepared for. For the rest of the day, Alex replayed the incident in his mind, trying to figure out how to fix things. But no matter how hard he thought, one thing was clear: apologizing wouldn't be enough. Whatever consequences awaited him, he would have to face them head-on. Little did he know, this moment would set off a chain of events that would test not only his martial arts skills, but also his character and resolve. When Alex stepped off the plane in Seoul, the bustling city felt like a different world. Towering skyscrapers stretched toward the sky, their glass facades reflecting the golden hues of the setting sun. Neon signs blinked in every direction, and the air buzzed with energy. It was nothing like the quiet town he called home. For a moment, Alex felt overwhelmed, but excitement quickly replaced any nerves. This was the place where legends were made, and he was ready to leave his mark. The tournament organizers had arranged for all participants to stay at a luxurious hotel near the heart of the city. As Alex checked in, he couldn't help but marvel at the polished marble floors and the intricate artwork adorning the walls. He met other fighters from around the globe, men and women who carried themselves with confidence, their eyes sharp and calculating. Some greeted him warmly, while others gave him curt nods, sizing him up as if already planning how they would defeat him in the ring. Among the competitors, one person stood out: Jae-hoon Park, a South Korean fighter known for his incredible speed and precision. With his perfectly styled hair and charismatic smile, Jae-hoon seemed more like a movie star than a martial artist, yet there was no denying his skill. During practice sessions at the venue, Alex watched Jae-hoon move effortlessly, his kicks slicing through the air like blades. When Jae-hoon noticed Alex observing him, he approached with an easy grin and extended his hand. "You're the guy from America, right? Heard you've got some tricks up your sleeve." Alex shook his hand, feeling a mix of admiration and rivalry. Over the next few days, they trained together, exchanging tips and techniques. Jae-hoon's playful banter kept things light, but Alex could sense the competitive edge beneath his words. They weren't just training partners, they were potential opponents, each trying to learn as much as possible without giving too much away. While Alex focused on honing his skills, something else caught his attention: the royal guards stationed throughout the arena. These men were unlike anything Alex had ever seen before. Dressed in crisp uniforms with matching caps, they moved with military precision, their presence commanding respect. Their stern expressions made it clear that crossing them wasn't an option. Rumors swirled among the competitors about Prince Minjun, a young member of the royal family rumored to attend the tournament. Some said he was an accomplished martial artist himself, though no one had seen him fight firsthand. Despite the guards' intimidating demeanor, Alex tried not to let them distract him. But curiosity got the better of him. One evening, as he wandered near the palace grounds adjacent to the venue, he spotted a group of guards practicing their own combat drills. Their movements were fluid yet powerful, blending traditional martial arts with modern self-defense tactics. Alex couldn't help but admire their discipline, even as he reminded himself to keep his distance. Back at the hotel, Alex spent hours strategizing. He studied videos of past matches, analyzed his strengths and weaknesses, and mentally prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. The thought of facing someone like Jae-hoon, or perhaps even Prince Min-jun, sent a thrill down his spine. Still, he knew this tournament wasn't just about winning. It was about proving himself on a global stage and showing the world what he was capable of. As the days passed, anticipation built among the competitors. Posters advertising the event lined the streets, and local news channels covered every detail. Everywhere Alex went, people recognized him as one of the fighters, their eyes filled with curiosity and admiration. It was both exhilarating and humbling. For the first time, Alex truly understood the weight of what he was about to do. He wasn't just representing himself, he was representing his hometown, his country, and everyone who had believed in him along the way. Little did Alex know, the real test of his character and his abilities was closer than he thought. In just a matter of days, he would find himself face to face with forces far beyond anything he had imagined. The next morning, Alex woke up with a heavy feeling in his chest. He had barely slept, tossing and turning as he replayed the events of the previous day over and over again in his mind. Kicking a royal guard wasn't just embarrassing, it was dangerous. The thought of being thrown out of the tournament, or worse, deported, loomed like a dark cloud. But what scared him most was the unknown. What would happen now? Would he face legal trouble? Would this ruin his reputation forever? His questions were answered sooner than expected. By mid-morning, two stern-looking officials arrived at his hotel room. They wore formal suits and carried themselves with an air of authority that made Alex's stomach churn. "Mr. Carter," one of them said curtly, "you are to come with us immediately." Their tone left no room for argument. Alex followed them silently, his heart pounding with every step. They led him through winding corridors inside the palace complex until they reached a grand hall decorated with intricate carvings and golden accents. At the far end of the room sat a panel of dignitaries, their expressions unreadable. Among them was someone who stood out, a young man dressed in traditional Korean attire, exuding calm confidence. It was Prince Min-jun. Alex bowed deeply, trying to show respect despite his nerves. One of the officials stepped forward and explained the situation. The injured guard had reported the incident directly to higher authorities, claiming disrespect toward the royal family. Alex listened intently, his palms sweating as he waited for the verdict. Then, something unexpected happened. Instead of anger or reprimand, Prince Min-jun leaned forward slightly, studying Alex with keen interest. "So," the prince began, his voice smooth and measured, "you're the fighter from America." There was no hostility in his words, only curiosity. "Yes, Your Highness," Alex replied, his voice trembling slightly. "I didn't mean any disrespect. It was an accident, I assure you." Min-jun nodded slowly, his lips curling into a faint smile. "Accidents happen," he said, "but actions have consequences. Tell me, Mr. Carter, do you believe your skills are enough to justify such carelessness?" The question hung in the air, sharp and challenging. Alex swallowed hard, unsure how to respond. Before he could say anything, the prince continued, "Here's my proposal. If you can survive 3 rounds sparring with me personally, I will consider this matter resolved. Do we have a deal?" For a moment, Alex was too stunned to speak. Sparring with a member of the royal family. This wasn't part of his plan. Still, he knew refusing wasn't an option. Bowing again, he managed to choke out, "Yes, Your Highness. Thank you for giving me this chance." As the officials dismissed him, Alex felt a mix of relief and dread. On one hand, he had been given an opportunity to make amends. On the other hand, he had no idea what he was getting himself into. Prince Min-jun wasn't just royalty. He was rumored to be highly trained in martial arts. And while Alex had faced tough opponents before, none of them carried the weight of a prince's title or the pressure of representing his country on foreign soil. Back at his hotel, Alex tried to prepare mentally. He reviewed videos of traditional Korean martial arts, hoping to gain some insight into Min Jun's style. He practiced footwork and breathing techniques, reminding himself to stay calm under pressure. Yet no amount of preparation could ease the knot of anxiety twisting in his gut. This wasn't just about winning or losing anymore. It was about proving himself worthy of forgiveness. That night, as he lay awake staring at the ceiling, Alex thought about why he had come to Seoul in the first place. He hadn't traveled thousands of miles to back down from a challenge. Whatever happened in those 3 rounds, he vowed to give it everything he had, not just for himself, but for everyone who believed in him. Little did Alex know, these matches would test more than just his physical abilities. They would push him to confront his fears, question his limits, and discover what truly mattered in the art of combat and in life itself. The second round took place outdoors in a tranquil garden filled with cherry blossom trees. Soft pink petals drifted lazily through the air, blanketing the ground like a delicate carpet. The serene setting stood in sharp contrast to the intensity of the match about to unfold. For Alex, this wasn't just another fight. It was a test of his mental fortitude as much as his physical skill. And he quickly realized that Prince Min Jun was no longer holding back. As they bowed to begin the round, Alex noticed a subtle change in Min Jun's demeanor. Gone was the calm, almost playful energy from the first round. In its place was something sharper, more calculated. Min Jun's piercing gaze locked onto Alex, studying him like a predator sizing up its prey. It made Alex uneasy, but he forced himself to stay focused, reminding himself of everything he'd learned so far. The moment the referee signaled the start, Min Jun launched into action. But instead of attacking directly, he began circling Alex slowly, his movements fluid and deliberate. "You're strong," Min Jun said, his voice calm but laced with challenge. "But strength alone won't win you this fight." His words were meant to unsettle, and they worked. Alex felt a flicker of doubt creep into his mind. Was Min Jun right? Had all his training been for nothing? Min Jun continued to press his advantage, not with punches or kicks, but with psychological tactics. He mocked Alex's reliance on flashy techniques, calling them showmanship without substance. Each comment landed like a punch, chipping away at Alex's confidence. At one point, Min Jun even mimicked one of Alex's signature moves, exaggerating it to make it look clumsy. The crowd chuckled nervously, unsure whether to admire Min Jun's skill or feel sorry for Alex. Frustration bubbled inside Alex, threatening to overwhelm him. He wanted to lash out, to prove Min Jun wrong, but he knew better than to let his emotions take control. Instead, he closed his eyes briefly, drawing on memories of his grandfather's teachings. Martial arts is not just about the body, his grandfather had once told him. It's about mastering your mind and spirit. When Alex opened his eyes again, something had shifted. The noise around him faded, the murmurs of the crowd, the rustling of leaves, even Min Jun's taunts, all seemed distant now. In their place was clarity. Alex remembered why he had started martial arts in the first place, not to dominate others, but to grow stronger, both physically and mentally. With newfound resolve, he planted his feet firmly on the ground and faced Min Jun head-on. This time, when Min Jun attacked, Alex didn't rush to counter. He waited patiently, observing every movement, every shift in weight. When Min Jun feinted left, Alex didn't fall for it. When Min Jun tried to bait him into overextending, Alex held his ground. Slowly but surely, Alex began to adapt, finding openings where there had been none before. He countered a kick with a precise block, then followed up with a swift strike to Min Jun's shoulder. It wasn't enough to incapacitate the prince, but it was proof that Alex could hold his own. Min Jun seemed surprised by the sudden change in Alex's approach. For the first time, There was a flicker of respect in his eyes. The prince adjusted his strategy, pressing harder and faster, but Alex refused to be rattled. He stayed present, focusing on each moment rather than worrying about the outcome. By the time the referee called an end to the round, both fighters were breathing heavily, neither having gained a decisive upper hand. As they stepped apart, Min Jun gave Alex a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement of his resilience. Alex returned the gesture, feeling a sense of pride despite the challenges ahead. This round had taught him something valuable. True strength came not from overpowering your opponent, but from understanding yourself and staying composed under pressure. Still, Alex knew the final round would be the ultimate test. Min Jun had shown glimpses of his full potential, and Alex suspected the prince had yet to reveal everything he was capable of. Whatever happened next, Alex vowed to face it with courage and humility. When Alex returned home, the quiet streets of his small town felt comforting after the whirlwind of Seoul. The journey had changed him in ways he couldn't fully explain, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. He wasn't the same man who had left weeks ago, full of ambition and nerves. This Alex was wiser, humbler, and more grounded. Though he hadn't won the tournament or defeated Prince Min Jun, he carried something far greater, a newfound sense of purpose. The first thing Alex did was visit his grandfather. Sitting on the porch where they used to train together, Alex recounted every detail of his adventure, the excitement, the mistakes, the lessons learned. His grandfather listened intently, nodding occasionally with a knowing smile. When Alex finished, his grandfather placed a weathered hand on his shoulder and said, "You didn't go there to win fights, Alex. You went to grow as a person. And from what I hear, you've done exactly that." Inspired by this conversation, Alex decided to take action. He converted an old warehouse near the edge of town into a community center, a place where kids and adults alike could learn martial arts not just as a sport, but as a way of life. Every day, he taught classes focusing not only on physical techniques, but also on values like discipline, respect, and perseverance. He often shared stories from his time in Seoul, emphasizing that true strength comes not from dominating others, but from understanding oneself and treating everyone with dignity. Word spread quickly about the center, and soon it became a hub for the entire town. Parents brought their children, hoping they'd learn self-defense and confidence. Teenagers came seeking guidance, finding solace in Alex's patient teaching style. Even some of Alex's former high school students stopped by, eager to reconnect with their old gym teacher turned mentor. The center wasn't just a dojo. It was a sanctuary, a place where people could escape the chaos of daily life and find peace within themselves. Over time, Alex's reputation grew beyond the town borders. Local newspapers wrote articles about him, praising his dedication to giving back to the community. One reporter even dubbed him the accidental philosopher, highlighting how his experiences in Seoul had transformed him into a role model for aspiring martial artists everywhere. But Alex didn't let the attention go to his head. To him, success wasn't measured by accolades. It was reflected in the smiles of his students and the positive changes he saw in their lives. Years passed, and the legend of the black belt who kicked a royal guard lived on. It became a story told at tournaments, in gyms, and around campfires, a tale of ambition, humility, and redemption. People marveled at how Alex had faced such a daunting challenge and emerged stronger because of it. What resonated most, however, was the message behind the story, that failure isn't the end. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. One day, while teaching a class, Alex noticed a young boy struggling to master a basic kick. Frustrated, the boy threw down his gloves and muttered, "I'll never get it." Alex knelt beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Do you know why I tell my soul stories so often?" he asked gently. The boy shook his head. "Because I want you to know that everyone stumbles sometimes, even me. But what matters isn't falling. It's getting back up and trying again." The boy looked up at Alex, his eyes wide with curiosity. After a moment, He picked up his gloves and nodded. "Okay," he said softly. "I'll try again." Watching the boy return to practice, Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was why he did what he did, not for fame or glory, but to inspire others to believe in themselves. As dusk settled over the town, Alex stood outside the community center, watching families leave with laughter echoing in the cool evening air. He thought about everything he had been through, the highs, the lows, the moments of doubt and triumph. Life, he realized, was like martial arts, unpredictable, challenging, and beautiful all at once. And just like in martial arts, the key to navigating it lay in staying present, embracing every experience, and always striving to be better, not just for yourself, but for those around you. For Alex Carter, the journey wasn't over. It was just beginning.